The old car creaked to a stop. Rain lashed down, blurring the lights of the Grand Blackwood Hotel. It was almost midnight. The storm had been getting worse for hours. Now I was stranded with a flat tire and no cell service. Lightning flashed. The hotel sign, barely hanging on, swung in the wind. Grand Blackwood Hotel. Vacancy. It creaked. I hesitated. The place looked deserted, almost abandoned. But I was soaked and freezing. I had to find shelter. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my bag and dashed through the downpour. The hotel doors groaned open as if unused for years. Inside, everything was dark and silent. A musty smell filled the air, like old books and forgotten memories. I shivered, suddenly unsure about coming in, but it was too late to turn back. The lobby was dimly lit by a flickering chandelier. Dust lay thick on the once grand furniture. Cobwebs clung to the ornate corners. Behind a massive dusty counter, a bell sat silent. I rang it, the sound echoing through the empty space. No one came. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. Only silence answered. I walked further into the lobby, my footsteps loud on the worn carpet. Each creak of the floorboards, each sigh of the wind through the broken windows sent shivers down my spine. The air felt heavy, loaded with an unseen presence. I found a dusty registration book on the counter and signed in, my hand trembling. Picking a key at random, I climbed the grand staircase, each step groaning in protest. The hallway on the second floor was dark and silent. The only light came from a flickering gas lamp at the far end. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and turning like living things. I found my room and pushed the heavy door open. The room was small and dusty, lit by a single window overlooking the stormy night. The wallpaper peeled from the walls, and the furniture was ancient and creaky. The air felt cold and damp, like a tomb. I dropped my bag on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed, the springs groaning under my weight. A strange feeling washed over me, a sense of being watched. I could have sworn I heard whispers coming from the walls, but when I listened closely, there was nothing there. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the room, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I spun around, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing there. Or was there? The storm raged outside, mirroring the fear that was beginning to grip me. I tried to ignore the strange noises and the feeling of being watched. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind and the old house settling. But then I felt it, a cold spot, right next to me on the bed. It was as if someone had just blown icy breath on my neck. I whipped around, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. The room was empty. Trying to stay calm, I told myself it was just a draft. But deep down, a terrifying thought took root. I wasn't alone in this room. Something else was here with me. I decided to try to get some sleep, despite the fear clawing at my throat. I pulled the heavy curtains closed, shutting out the storm and plunging the room into darkness. Then I crawled under the covers, clutching my bag to my chest. But sleep wouldn't come. The feeling of being watched intensified. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind sent shivers down my spine. Then I saw it, a flicker of movement in the old tarnished mirror across from the bed. I held my breath, my eyes wide with fear. A face appeared in the mirror, pale, with dark, empty eyes staring directly at me. I gasped, scrambling back on the bed, my heart pounding in my chest. But when I blinked, it was gone. The mirror reflected only the empty room. Was it my imagination, a trick of the light? Section 6. Panic and Flight. I couldn't stay in that room another moment. I had to get out, escape the suffocating fear that clung to me like a shroud. Throwing the covers back, I jumped out of bed and ran to the door. Fumbling with the latch, I threw it open and ran into the hallway. The flickering gas lamp had gone out, plunging the corridor into darkness. I stumbled blindly, my only thought to escape the suffocating presence of the hotel. Suddenly, I heard a noise behind me, slow, heavy footsteps coming closer. I didn't dare turn around. I ran faster, my breath catching in my throat, my heart pounding against my ribs. Section 7. Racing through the halls. I raced through the dark hallways, my fear lending speed to my steps. The air grew colder and the stench of mildew intensified. The floorboards creaked and groaned under my feet, as if the hotel itself were trying to slow me down. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the empty halls, bouncing off the walls and chilling me to the bone. It wasn't my scream. It was something else, something filled with a deep, primal terror. The footsteps behind me grew louder, closer. I risked a glance back and saw a shadowy figure, tall and gaunt, with eyes that glowed an eerie green in the darkness. It was gaining on me. Section 8. Escape into the storm. I burst out of the hotel and into the raging storm. Rain lashed at my face, blinding me, but I didn't care. I ran, my lungs burning, my legs screaming for me to stop, but I pushed myself harder. The wind howled like a banshee and lightning split the sky, momentarily illuminating the twisted trees and the overgrown grounds of the hotel. In the flashes, I thought I saw the shadowy figure standing on the porch watching me, but it was gone as quickly as it appeared. Finally, I reached my car. Fumbling with the keys, I unlocked it and threw myself inside, slamming the door behind me. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see if the figure was following me. Section 9. A lingering chill. I drove through the night, the storm eventually subsiding, leaving behind a trail of broken branches and fallen leaves. Exhaustion finally overtook me, but I couldn't shake the feeling of icy fingers trailing down my spine. Was it all real?